glorious. For you are great, and my heart is full of praise. For you are glorious, there is no one else like you. For you are great, you're the ancient of days. I lift my hands in praises to your name. You're the one who makes my heart sing today. For you are great, and my heart is full of praise. For you are glorious, there is no one else like you. For you are great, you're the ancient of days. I lift my hands in praises to your name, oh God. You're the one who makes my heart sing today.
Education. We're next to the best. 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 Oh, education. We're next to the best.
Uniform student in the front, colorful student in the rear. You ought to listen to our call and come at this time. We are here, we are from the Republic of Liberia, but specifically dwelling district number 9, and cross-section students from diverse districts within the Republic of Liberia have come to your office to present a formal petition calling for the inclusion of vocational technical skill education in high schools between 7th to 12th grade that will enable our country build a middle-income class country with a limited university we have and a limited vocational technical screening institution we have in our country. So predicated on that, the crafter of this document happens to be a permanent citizen and a humanitarian who have been providing guidance for cross-section of students in this country and also making sure that the children receive the best of education in our dispensation. And he's one of the presidents who is always there to make sure everything remains peaceful. That is why we came peacefully this morning. I've seen us in our color and in the flyers, chanting a lot of information that has written and carrying a lot of messages. So predicated on that, he want to make one or two remarks related to this petition. We call one of the students, a astute, eloquent student, to do this reading for us, and then tell what the document, then we'll get remarks from it, then we'll come out the day. So Honorable Fubbi, please.
Thanks, Honorable Zaza and Chambers, for coming, and we appreciate your time. And as you said, this is to include vocational skills in our grade schools, because we noted that this is a country where we go to school, everything is not academics. Some students will not have the opportunity to go to college after high school, and some will also not have the passion to pursue academic further. So including vocational skills, especially from 7th grade to 10th to 12th grade, we add value to their lives. So if their parents cannot afford to send them to college, at least they have something to stand on their own feet and they can start doing something. And this also will buttress the liberalization policy that we all want to push, that Liberians will have the requisite skills to be able to adequately challenge and take advantage of job opportunities. So we're looking forward to the Honorable Office to help push this on our behalf and on behalf of the students of Liberia that will be coming out of high school in years to come, to see how we can make this a journey worthwhile, so that the Liberia we all want to see, we can see it tomorrow. We are ourselves taking charge of our economy fully. So on this note, we will turn over to the eloquent speaker to read the petition on this 14th day of July 2006.
Come on, come here.
The voice of all is of Henries. Now the petition has been given to us.
Petition is in the House of Representatives for the inclusion of vocational skills education in high schools, especially from 7th to 12th grades. Presented by Fubbi F.A. Henries, resident of District 9, Maserado County. Submitted to the National Legislature through the Office of the Chief Clerk. Date of submission is July 14, 2016. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and members of the 53rd National Legislature, fellow peace and loving citizens of the Republic of Liberia, student body, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you greetings from the student communities of the Republic of Liberia and the parents of the over 62% of the youthful population of our country. In an effort to promote the academic arena of Liberian students and with cohesive needs that have claimed our attention as activists and peaceful citizens, and in the wake of the limitation of vocational training institutions and the inability of many Liberian students to acquire university education, the citizens of District 9 and other well-meaning Liberians purposed to submit a petition calling for the inclusion of technical vocational skills training in high schools ranging from grade 7 to 12. In our analysis, we have observed that there are discerning gaps in the number of students having opportunities to go to universities and others that cannot afford tertiary education. In our view, this is alarming and may have the propensities to create chaos. The ability to have vocational skills in high schools will create a middle class within our society. The role of tertiary, technical and vocational education and trainings cannot be overemphasized, as it remains a prerequisite for sustainable economic growth and socio-political development of any nation. Liberia recovered from the ravages of a devastating civil crisis that had untold consequences not only on lives and properties, but on its valuable human resource capacity, must ensure the existence of viable technical vocational education and training, inclusion in our grade schools, thus enhancing the furtherance of our developmental agenda. Currently, there is a serious shortage of higher education institutions in the country. Those currently in existence cannot host all our pre-college students. There is a continued increase in the amounts paid per credit hour for many of our less fortunate students in the existing few tertiary institutions. From 3 tertiary institutions in the 1980s, the country today boasts of 2 master's degree granting higher education institutions, 9 bachelor's degree, and 19 associate degrees, granting institutions nationwide with estimated enrollment of 44,000 students. Few TVET institutions are also sprouting up in Liberia, some government-run and others non-public. What remains to be seen, however, is the quality of services these higher education and TVET institutions are providing to propel Liberia's development goals. Are products of these institutions being fully equipped with the right skills and knowledge to meet the competing demands in industrialized entrepreneur private sector? In this section of our petitioning, Some Local Daily took a closer look into some key gains made by the HE and TVET institutions and the challenges they face in producing a wholesome, functional cadre of the Liberian workforce. An act of legislature in 1851 created the University of Liberia, then known as Liberia College, remains the nation's highest government-funded tertiary education institution, producing the largest segment of students enrollment in the country, 31,000 out of 44,000. The University of Liberia, popularly known as UL, offers undergraduate programs in the field of humanities, science, and business, master degree programs in political science, regional science, social development, peace studies, and business administration, but unable to meet the growing demand and quest by pre-college students. To date, the university has sole grantor of professional postgraduate degrees in the fields of medicine and law in the country is responsible for producing a sprinkling of medical doctors and lawyers that are so much responsible and demanded in post-war Liberia. Cottonson University, a private-run tertiary institution, was established in 1889 to meet the growing demands of higher education in the country. Cottonson University now offers master degrees programs to meet Liberia's rising job market demand on seminal degree qualifications. Decade later, 1978, the William V.S. Tubman College, or WVSTC, was also established, making it the second largest public tertiary institution in the country. The aforementioned were the 3 recognized tertiary institutions operating in Liberia before the Civil War, which caused massive brain drain of many trained university professors and instructors, resulting in a high influx of bachelor degree holders teaching at these universities. Following the war, there was a growing need to regulate the activities of many of the new universities and colleges that had come up. This speaks to the seriousness that government attaches to reform the education sector. In order for Liberia to move ahead in its national recovery efforts, the future lies well within the employability of its youth and their capacity to deliver the skills required in an industrialized post-war nation. Technical and vocational skills training are therefore sans qua non in filling the huge unemployment gaps created by an ill-prepared tertiary education sector that produces more bureaucrats than technocrats, and a secondary educational sector that has more students and higher dropout rates. Leading the bandwagon in this direction, the Monrovia Vocational Training Center, MVTC, Booker Washington Institute, BWI, and few others remain a paragon of excellence, but yet have limited space to absorb students with the desire to acquire vocational skills. Therefore, we are pleading to this national legislature to mandate the Ministry of Education to allow all schools in our country to include within their curriculum vocational skills training such as, but not limited to, the following: carpentry, masonry, mechanics, auto and heavy duty, electrical study, electrician, electronic study, cosmetology, arts and crafts, building construction, computer science, drafting, agriculture, catering, home economics, tailoring, interior decoration, plumbing, secretariat science, journalism, airline ticketing, counseling, etc. Either we help our nation now or risk pregnant tomorrow. Moving forward from where we are as a people should be a collective national vision that is firmly tied to quality education for all. As students and well-meaning Liberians, we remain hopeful and optimistic that our lawmakers will do what is best to protect our right to have some vocational skills as we prepare to go and get higher education and build a middle-class society, which is enshrined in Article 6 of our Constitution. Poverty is not our purpose, and we can conquer this nightmare of our leaders to begin with their affirmative action. Liberians do not belong at the bottom, but the top. We deserve better than what we have achieved for 169 years of independence. Prosperity through education, employment, and empowerment is what we ultimately desire as a country striving to rise above poverty. Putting Liberia's educational sector under the spotlight for in-depth evaluation is critical to finding lasting solutions to prevailing gaps. We can only know where we are going when we know where we are coming from and where we are now. Microscoping education in Liberia is an essential roadmap to reshaping our educational system from mess to best. Access to quality education across Liberia remains a serious challenge due to several factors. Notable among those factors is vocational education. The quality of teaching and learning various institutions around the country is being hindered as a result of the limited vocational training institutes. Quality education at primary, secondary, and tertiary levels is something yet to be seen in our country. Despite that a new Education Reform Act was signed into law by President Johnson Sirleaf in 2011, achieving the needed reform in our educational sector requires aggressive implementation and progressive investments. From available data produced by the Ministry of Education, the number of vocational institutions existing cannot even accommodate all of our students. Insufficient school supplies, unqualified teachers, hostile learning environments, internet access, library, science lab, research center, etc. are existing issues confronting our nation. However, these existing gaps can be mitigated by the inclusion of vocational education in high schools. According to UNICEF, 98% of all our secondary schools are in Monrovia. This means citizens residing in rural Liberia have access to only 2% of our secondary institutions. How can we have a population of 4.4 million people with less than 5 state-run training institutions in the entire country? The Monrovia Vocational Training Center in Monserrate County and the Booker Washington School in Margibi County remain underfunded in this age of modernity. Smaller training institutes are still underrated and cannot provide the needed technical vocational education in order for students graduating from high schools to meet the demand of the job markets. According to the 2008 census conducted by the Liberia Institute of Statistics and Geoinformation Services, LIGIS, 33.2% of Liberia's youthful population are illiterate, 31.1% of primary education, while 35.75% have had secondary and tertiary education. The government of Liberia's 5-year development strategy, Agenda for Transformation, AFT, which seeks to provide educational opportunities for all by investing more resources in higher education, can only become achievable if policymakers and partners stand up and act. Reforming education in Liberia from mess to best does not only end with crafting good policies and strategies, but goes beyond. The Ministry of Education has put into motion a reform policy seeking to transform education in Liberia from mess to best by 2020. Even though this plan is meaningful, but much is not being done to ensure its overall targets are met within the specified period of time. Up to date, Liberia only has a total of 5,181 schools. Out of this number, 59% of 3,704 of these schools are public, while 41%, 2,107, are non-public. With an enrollment rate of 1,531,489 students, 952,290 students, which accounts for 62%, are found in public institutions, while 579,199 poor facilities. This means that more attention needs to be given to public schools, particularly vocational and technical institutions. This must include our various high schools. The total number of teachers in Liberia is 44,250. Out of this number, 56%, that is 24,564 teachers, are teaching public schools, while 44%, which is 19,686 teachers, are teaching private institutions. Most of our teachers are not qualified to teach our classrooms. Some of them are mere high school graduate and university dropouts. Even in our vocational institution, universities and colleges, teachers with only first degree providing tutorship are too many. The budget for education in Liberia is far below the demand of quality education. For example, during 2014-2015 fiscal year, the budget of Ministry of Education was 39,930,249, which accounts for just 5.96% of our national budget. Liberia has one of the lowest expenditures for education in Africa, and this is contributing hugely to widespread poverty. While other nations are investing a large portion of their national budgets to providing quality education for their citizens, Liberia is still lacking education. Liberia is still dragging with 11%. Kenya is ahead with about 21%, while Ghana is almost 20%. It will interest you to know that the system of education in neighboring Sierra Leone is far better than ours. Recently, the Parliament of Sierra Leone provided 36.65 million loan agreement to rehabilitate and expand the Fubbi Bay College. This disturbing decision will put thousands of struggling students out of school and render them economically defenseless. This is why it is very important for our legislators to intervene in a timely and suitable manner for the inclusion of vocational technical training in our high schools. After 15 years of sovereignty, the need to establish a fountain of knowledge and enlightenment became a national priority. When Liberians from every sphere of society were in search of higher education, the universities could not create the space for the inclusion of students graduating from high schools. which sprung forth to ignite a new age and delays to acquiring better education. When Liberian citizens had no choice but to only acquire secondary education, the Liberia College, now the University of Liberia, was given birth to in 1862 as the first publicly founded institution of higher learning in the country, thereby not affording the opportunities pre-college students to have enrollments. For example, over 38,000 students registered for entrance examination in 2014, with only 15 students becoming successful. The dreams and aspirations of our people are fast decaying as a result of lack of basic skills to empower our citizens economically. The reign of poverty, illiteracy, and disease has taken precedence. Time is against us to build a better future for the next generation. Living in hardship for more than 1.5 centuries now is enough. Why must we live in a country of equal citizenship but unequal opportunities? The young people of this country have a huge task to redefine a new beginning as we proceed. Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and members of the 53rd National Legislature, in further justification, the inclusion of the vocational educational system in high schools will further contribute to decrease unemployment within our country. Most of our trained vocational technicians will be gainfully employed in those high schools around the country. This will also improve the learning environment of our students. Honorable Speaker, in furtherance to this petition, our aim also focuses on a massive reduction and a full implementation of the poverty reduction strategy that started some years back. Liberia's transformation to the next dimension is dependent upon the collective working of us all. The contributors of vocational technicians and skillful students will help in the fulfillment of plans made by the then National Commission on Disarmament, Demobilization, Reintegration, and Reparation process that was not fully observed. Most of our brothers were used as surrogates during the 14 years civil unrest of our country, and they were not fully integrated into our society. Today, most of them cannot afford to have university education and are still languishing in abject poverty and devastation. Few of them still managing to get themselves futuristically prepared for the challenges ahead. The inclusion of the TVET in these high schools will help sharpen their ability to move ahead by enrolling to a night school and encountering vocational trainings. We, the peaceful students and well-meaning Liberians, with support from a senior citizen of our country, Fubbi F.A. Henries, kindly request your permission to mandate the Ministry of Education to include vocational training skills within all schools' curriculum, thereby enabling us to build a middle-income economy.
On this note, we will ask Honorable Fubbi F.A. Henries to present this petition formally to our three distinct, well-educated and grounded lawmakers in the Republic of Liberia. And then after we will wait, listening to a few comments related to this petition in this day of July 14, 2016, about this time. Thank you. Honorable Fubbi, proceed.
Okay. Thank you. On behalf of the body, we send this petition to the House. Hope that we accept it in good faith and also see our interest as students and that pass it to at least improve the livelihood of the next generation of Liberians.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We are very impressed. I will make a formal statement, but I will want my colleagues to make comments. Then I will make the final comments. That's Honorable Timber from Nimba, and this is Honorable Buffer Timber from Maryland. So I would like to ask my colleagues to make comments, and then I will make a final comment. Honorable Timber.
Well, let me say a very big thank you to those who had this kind of a beautiful dream and seeking for the practicality with respect to improving the livelihood of our citizens. And starting from our institution, you know, one thing that I always said is that there's a need to be much more practical with respect to those things that we hope to achieve. You know, the most important aspect of everything is the practicality of it. Certain time that where there is an I call it an amateur introduction of maybe human rights or child rights in this country. I was serious about it. Because in the first place, you must have the infrastructure in place. Take for instance, in a great analysis, when they thought about having the child right, what did they do? They first went into the various communities and began to put the infrastructure in place. And how do they want to sustain it? They decided to put money in the budget. Stay much more determined to sustain child right. They said, what is the next step? They said, let's create more jobs for the parents to be on job, to win more money and support their children. All of those things were put in place. And if you are in America, you violate the right of the child. That child, if you ever went to the police station and it is established that you violated this child right, you are taking, the child is taken from under your roof. That child is not going to live under your roof anymore. They take that child straight to the infrastructure that has been put in place, those welfare centers. And then the government is also there. The money is in the budget to sustain the child in school, to sustain the child to that welfare center. The money the parent making, certain percentage is deducted to also support the child. But in Liberia here, how many of the parents on job? How much are they making? Where is the infrastructure? If you say I violated the child right, then after you say I'm guilty of violating it, then you bring the same child under my same roof. There's a disconnect. The same thing with this issue of this vocational school. Now, before you can have a vocational, a program incorporated into the curriculum, firstly, those vocational training centers must be established in all of the high schools. So that, because when they say vocational training is much more practical than theoretical. So you need to have this infrastructure, and we have to incorporate it into our budget, that all of the major high schools around here, make sure that you have a vocational training annex to that particular institution, well equipped, before you do that. But let's assume today, so, oh yes, we have agreed to have vocational training. How? Where is the facility that you're going to use? You don't have. So the first thing is to make sure that the Ministry of Education and we at the National Legislature need to make sure that that program is developed. And I'm of a stronger conviction that we will receive this, that will be carried to the plenary, it will be placed on the floor, we will debate it, and this same idea that we are propounding now, we'll be able to propound that so that it can be able to incorporate into that document to make it more realistic, more practical than theoretical. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The document being good, but was a little bit voluminous for this particular occasion, owing to the fact that we also have to participate in plenary. Again, the issue and idea before us for the vocational educational inclusion in the educational architecture of this country, I think is long overdue. It requires a professional approach. It requires, financial support. I want to applaud you for coming up with such a wonderful thought. It reinforces those thoughts of other people, that have come up with these ideas. As a young gentleman and the well-intentioned students, we want to say thank you very much. But I don't want him to be referred to as senior citizen. He has not reached that level yet of a senior citizen. But having said that, I think Liberia stands a better chance. Liberia has lots of resources to incorporate such a wonderful practice. There are examples one can point to. Singapore was called a cesspool. It had its independence in 1965. A cesspool is where you throw filth, waste. A septic tank could be a cesspool. It came from a level where it had no resources. Today, the Singaporeans can fabricate anything anybody in the world can fabricate, because what they had was the human resource. The human resource is what they cultivated. To the extent between ages 15 and 24, the young population, over 99% of the students are educated, literate. 99%. So when you look at the Singaporean experience, Liberia also can do it with the rubber, with the iron ore, with the bauxite, with water we have. Liberia has enormous resources. The problem we have though is that Liberia has had poor management. Liberia has never been poor. So we employ all of you to do your best to help the legislature as a body in elevating Liberia to nobler heights. What we can do for ourselves, nobody can do it for us. We cannot say that the contributions that have come from outside can transform Liberia. It's only Liberians with passion and patriotism that can transform this country. And we need equality and justice for all. Today we see the issue. If indeed you say you want vocational institutions all over, you get your vocational background, yet you cannot be employed. Which brought up, and that means something that rang a bell some time ago, where they're creating super people. People now are cloned, you know. Cloning is that you make two persons, one person out of two or three or four, but at one person. So the issue that in the legislature now, one gentleman working in a mansion, the same gentleman working at local, the same gentleman working in Brussels. So you see now, and Liberia has the shortage of employment, and that act of equitability must be provided to Liberian people. This space belongs to Liberian people. It's nobody's inheritance. It's for everybody. So as such, I want to say to you, your ideas will be supported in the strongest possible way. I want you to know that it is only collaboration that can make this country just, that can make this country safe, that can make this country peaceful, that can make this country stable, and can make this country prosperous. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Yeah, thank you. That's it. Well, I am happy my colleagues have made these beautiful comments. I will represent the plenary to receive these documents. When we were informed that you were out there, the speaker asked us to receive these documents. And rightly so, my colleagues have permitted you. A few years ago, this kind of democratic principle would not have been followed. It would have been otherwise. And I must commend you for being so mature, for following the democratic principles. As I have repeatedly said, the major tenet of democracy is the respect for the rule of law. And exactly that's what you are following, for which I say again, thank you very much. Now, the document you've written, it was very informative, but you touched on so many issues. But there were two major issues that I think I will highlight here. You talk about the introduction of vocational, technical and vocational school in our curriculum. And you talk about the poor quality of teachers. Thank you. Here is the issue. A few years ago, everything was at ground zero in our academic development. So, the first term of this government, the first 6 years, it was crisis management period. Our development partners came to our aid, and many things were put in place. This second part, it is now development, plan development time. When you talk about the PRS, the agenda for transformation, of course there were some issues that were referred to in that agenda for transformation when they talk about growth corridor that I didn't agree with. With education, the Constitution provides that it is a mandate, it is a responsibility of the government to educate all of the citizens. So when you talk about growth corridor, that I didn't agree with. However, this government is on record. Let's be frank. Let's call spade a spade. It was even before the independence that we have free and compulsory education on our books. Those were never implemented. It was this government that implemented that. For this reason, from first grade to 9th grade now, you go free in government schools. This policy has resulted into the enrollment, doubling the enrollment. As a result, it created a problem that we didn't foresee in the execution process. It was against this background, this government again said, well, our educational act, the act we need to revisit it. That was the basis on which this act was rewritten. Now, it was on the 8th of August 2011, as we said, this act was approved. I was then at the Education Ministry. All of these issues raised, most of them are covered in that document. So, what we will do, the legislature, this is a shared policy with the executive. The executive executes, they carry out the programs. We make the laws. As I said, when it comes to the details of the implementation, it squarely rests with the executive. The curriculum development, of course, the Act carried, you must have voc and tech education. It's in the Act. Now, the implementation of that Act is the responsibility of the executive. So, what we will do, the fact that you have come to us, of course, you have followed your constitutional right to come to us. We will equally work with our colleagues in the executive so that we will see that your dreams come to pass. We make sure that, in fact, the mineral agreements that people have talked about so many times, that they were not up to standard. If you look at most of the agreements, the signature bonus, it is reflected in that act. That portion of it should be allocated to education because the government thought that education needs more funding. If you look at those acts. But of course, when people read this act, they only look at the negative parts. So the effort that is being made will stay supplemented. We'll work with you. You, as Doug said, you are not a senior citizen. You are a partner in progress. If there is anything we need, we will get back to you. Give us your contact. We will take this to our colleagues and we'll be put on the floor and we'll work with the Ministry of Education so that your dream will come to reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the time. Thank you. Maybe the journal want to speak to our students. We'll just be there.